Hey guys, John V from PhoneArena. You're watching our video comparison between the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the Samsung Galaxy S5. When it comes to having a reputation, we know Samsung has one, and it's in the fact that their smartphone designs are a little bit on the boring side. But with the introduction of the S6, something dramatic has changed. So we're going to find out exactly how the new S6 compares to the S5 before it. It's undeniable that we're dealing with Galaxy S devices here when we look at the two, just because they have the same design language as their predecessors. But with the S6, Samsung has taken a pretty good leap with the design language. It's now sporting a very premium quality. You have the glass materials held together in place with the melt trim bezel. It just comes off as a solid handset and a lot more aesthetically pleasing than the older plastic body construction of the S5. Though with the S5, though, we got to give it credit that because it has a water-resistant construction, you could submerge it underwater, and also features a micro SD card slot and a removable battery. You don't get that with the S6. They also have similar qualities. You have both fingerprint sensors built into their home button. We prefer the one in the S6 just because it's a lot easier to operate. They both have IR blasters to double as universal remotes, and you also have heart rate sensors in the back so that they can measure your pulse. As far as their displays are concerned, they both measure in at 5.1 inches, also Super AMOLED technology, but what's different here is just the resolution. You have Quad HD in the S6 versus 1080p in the S5. Now, from a normal distance, you wouldn't even notice a difference between the two. Both are rich and sharp, but when we look at them very closely, especially in the web browser, when you're viewing something from a zoomed out view, it's quite evident that the S6's display is superior, a lot more detail. On top of that, the S6's display is just a higher quality one. You have a stronger brightness output, so it radiates stronger. You have also a more color accurate screen and a better color temperature too as well. So all told, the S6 display is a sight to behold. As far as the core experiences with TouchWiz, you could tell that this is obviously TouchWiz we're dealing with. It's just a matter of the new TouchWiz versus the old. The old is still kind of cartoony. With the new one, Samsung has gone with a less is more approach, so it's a cleaner looking UI and it runs smoother, and they've also toned down the feature set. Now, some people will appreciate the amount of features, the vast features you get with the S5's TouchWiz experience. For example, you have the air view, the air gestures, but some people don't want them. They find them redundant. That's why they toned it down here with the S6. The S6 still boasts, useful things like multi-window and a one-handed mode. But all in all, we definitely like the direction that Samsung's going with the new TouchWiz. As far as the performance is concerned, no doubt the S6 benefits from having the newer chipset. It is a octa-core 64-bit base Exynos chip versus the older Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 processor in the S5. And of course, it just runs a lot more flawless than the S5. The S5 over time just lags, especially with small things like opening up applications, going back to the home screen. Every now and then you'll see stutter when just with some transition effects. But the S6 is pretty flawless in its execution so far. If we turn them around, we have their cameras, both 16 megapixel autofocus cameras. What's different about them is that the S6 has a f1.9 aperture lens versus an f2.2 aperture lens with the S5. Now, when we look at the two side by side, the qualities, they both excel in outdoor shots where there's a lot of lighting. You can get fantastic details, some amazing looking photos. You do get a little bit more color saturation with the S6's shots. That's good and bad depending how you look at it. But what's most notably different is just the superior performance of the S6 when it comes to low lighting, low lighting situations. With optical image stabilization and the f1.9 aperture lens, it's less prone to blurring, and in turn, the photos come out sharper. And we could say the same thing about their video recording quality as well. We just prefer the S6's results better than the S5. They both have 1080p video recording as well as 4K. Both are wonderful for a variety of multimedia content, whether it's listening to music, especially watching videos. Their Super AMOLED displays are just a sight to behold. As far as call quality, we wouldn't say one is vastly superior over the other. They both get the job done, but we'd probably say that the quality is pretty average. We're not really totally blown away by them. As for battery life, the S6's battery capacity shrinks, so it's actually smaller than the capacity in the S5. And with that, it does get a lower rank in our battery benchmark test. The S6 pulls out 7 hours and 14 minutes in our test, while the S5 with its larger battery, 7 hours and 38 minutes. So it's a slight difference, but day-to-day use, you're gonna get at least a solid day of normal usage out of them both. It's worth noting that the S6 has built-in wireless charging, so that's a benefit. But in contrast, the S5 has a removable back cover, so you have access to the battery and replace that as well. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things going for the S6. It's the beefier, newer, and better performing handset overall, and it's just a significant change in terms of the design and even how they tone down the software, and it's a drastic departure from what we know from Samsung. But don't count out the S5 still. The S5 still has some great qualities if you really appreciate things like that water-resistant construction, the battery, the removable battery, and also the micro SD card slot. It might be worth it just because it is going to cost you less money to pick up the S5 over the S6. So if you guys want to learn more about both handsets, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.